First of all, I'd just like to say this is really cool.
Look, can we just talk about something else, please?
Since it's already quiet, I guess we might as well start the team meeting.
Greetings, little big leaguers, wherever you're listening or watching, and welcome to episode 5 of the Little Big Fantasy League podcast. I'm Carter, and here tonight, joined by Leo and Joe. Good evening, gentlemen. How are we doing?
Not too bad.
No complaints on my end. Just another great Monday.
Yes, another week here. Awesome. And in last week's episode, we celebrated the 1-year anniversary of this podcast, which unfortunately I did miss, but thank you for the shout out there for me and JD. And there we predicted our division and World Series winners and chatted about the World Baseball Classic highlights before last week's championship matchup. And tonight we take a look at last Tuesday's World Baseball Classic outcome, as well as a preview of the start of the MLB and LBFL season, which kicks off in just a couple of days here on Wednesday. So, gentlemen, let's get right into it.
All right, let's go ahead and get right into the World Baseball Classic outcome. So, last week, while Joe and I were recording this podcast, celebrating that 1-year anniversary that Carter mentioned, it was Italy and Venezuela duking it out in the last semifinal matchup to see who would go on to play the U.S. in the final on Tuesday. Now, we did mistakenly still think that Michael Lorenzen was starting for Italy, but just hours before that game started, Italy manager Francesco Cervelli decided to switch things up to go with the more experienced Phillies right-hander Aaron Nola. Now, do have to admit another mistake here as well. We did assume that Tigers pitcher Kader Montero was pitching well because the score at the time, I think, Joe, was what, 2-1?
Yeah.
So it was a close matchup when we were just wrapping up the recording. So we figured, both former Tigers pitcher Lorenzen and current Tigers pitcher Montero must have pitched so well, only to find out that Montero lasted just 1 1/3 innings. And then, ironically enough, Lorenzen comes into the game and ends up being the losing pitcher as Venezuela took down Italy by a final of 4-2. So some unfortunate sequence of events there for Team Italy. Their special machine could only carry them so far.
Yeah, it's not a great look for Tigers fans that day, but you know what? We move on, we flush it, and we get ready for the actual season.
Absolutely. All right, so let's get into the championship matchup. 2 powerhouses, the USA and Venezuela. Now, fellas, I did watch this entire game and actually put together my own game notes while I was watching the game live on what took place over the course of 9 innings. Now, I've split my game notes into 4 different sections. We've got the beginning, what I like to call the spark. We've got the final innings, and then the game wrap. So I'm going to break down each of these sections one by one and solicit some feedback from both of you after each section. Gentlemen, welcome to our newest special feature segment inspired by former Twins manager Billy Haywood from the movie that you both have not seen, Little Big League. This is Billy's Game Notes. All right, so let's talk about the beginning of the game here. Another former Tigers pitcher, and it's a common theme with these last 2 World Baseball Classic matchups, Eduardo Rodriguez, who actually put some nice innings up for the Tigers during his tenure, but also had some oddities. He left the team in the middle of the season. He was going through some things in his personal life. But man, Rodriguez was just working ahead of hitters during those first few innings, sent down the first 7 batters in order, and ended up retiring 13 out of the 15 batters that he faced. He was absolutely dialed in on location. He had a great pitch mix, and honestly, could not have had a better outcome on the mound. So, Joe, I'd like to ask you here, were you surprised to see Rodriguez get the nod to start the World Baseball Classic in the championship matchup? But then were you even more surprised to see the great outcome that he ended up with?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I guess I wasn't as surprised that he got the start. I mean, he's been in the league for quite a while now. He's got a good veteran presence on the mound. He's a lefty, so I get it. I mean, you like him in matchups against Harper and Schwarber. You don't like him in matchups, though, against some of the US's right-handed hitters, such as Judge, Bobby Witt. So I was a little surprised that he got the start, but I understand why he got the start. As for his performance, super shocking. You mentioned that he did put up some good innings for the Tigers, and while I do agree with that, he holds a special hatred in my heart. He really screwed the Tigers over with his no trade clause crap that he
Oh,
pulled when we tried to deal him. And then ultimately ended up leaving us after the season, anyways. And you did mention that he did spend some time away from the team there, which I get. You have things going on in your personal life, but if you're going to be part of a team, you dedicate yourself to that team. So definitely surprised by his performance, as he has been hit up pretty bad in some recent years and hasn't had necessarily the best career out there. But I guess good for Eduardo Rodriguez.
now let's talk about the U.S. starting pitcher. I'm going to go to Carter here. Nolan McLean is on Carter's fantasy team, and man, he had some nasty breaking stuff that was on display in those first couple of innings, but he looked pretty amped up out on the mound at times. Was interesting to see manager Mark DeRosa go with Nolan McLean as the starter for the final game of the World Baseball Classic. Obviously, was maybe a little bit limited on his choice there, but Carter, were you surprised to see, because of McLean's lack of experience at the major league level, to see DeRosa put him in such a high leverage game?
Yeah, for sure. That was very surprising. I remember seeing that on the news when that came out, and yeah, I didn't fully understand that decision. I mean, I do think he's an awesome pitcher, but yeah, that is an extremely high leverage situation for someone just so fresh to the big leagues there, and still kind of learning with his pitches and stuff too. I mean, he's got a big career ahead of him, but yeah, he's just still so young, and yeah, that was interesting. I don't, yeah, like you said, being a manager, I don't know if like he literally just didn't have any other options there with some older, more seasoned pitchers at all. But I mean, it was definitely cool that he got the nod on a big world stage like that. But yeah, it was strange that he was there.
Yeah, I think his hands were a bit tied. Didn't have a whole lot to choose from. Would have been great to see somebody like Scooble come out and start that World Baseball Classic final. But McLean ended up pitching pretty well. Ended up giving up 4 2/3 over, or ended up giving up 2 runs over 4 2/3 innings. Now, like I mentioned before, he was a bit too amped up at times. His wild pitch back in that third inning led to a eventual Michael Garcia sacrifice fly, which ended up being the first run of that game. And then before the next half inning, I'm going to throw this one to you, Joe, throwing a bone to you. Mark DeRosa referred to Nolan McLean's wild pitch in an in-game interview as a passed ball, continuing to show that he was completely out of touch with what was going on during the World Baseball Classic. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm not even too sure if Mark DeRosa ever even played baseball. He seems just completely inexperienced, not only with how to manage a team, but when it comes to simple baseball terminology and what the meaning of things are. Um, really, really pitiful by him. Just another showing of why he shouldn't have been manager of Team USA in the first place.
Yeah, I know you've scrutinized him quite a bit, and honestly, he took a lot of heat during this World Baseball Classic, and I don't think that he will be back as the U.S. manager the next time around. So that's kind of a wrap on the beginning of the game. Now, for me, the turning point, what I like to call the spark, had to be Abreu's home run to start the fifth inning, which was truly a statement blast that ended up bringing that Venezuelan crowd to life over at Lone Depot Park in Miami. I mean, that crowd really erupted at that time, and you could really, hear from that really Venezuela was dominating that stadium compared to the U.S. crowd, which is honestly quite embarrassing.
Right. I mean, it's not like the game was played overseas. I mean, this game was played in the US. So the fact that the US crowd didn't show out as much as the Venezuelan crowd is a bit shocking. I mean, I know Florida does have a decent population when it comes to the Hispanic world, and I know it is a state that is closer than most to those countries. But it was really quite shocking to see us almost non-existent U.S. fans, really.
Yeah, 100%. The U.S. was the home team in the game, and you would have thought, being on home soil, they would have had a better showing. But man, it really turned into a home game for Venezuela. So yeah, for me, that was really the big spark of the game. Wilyer Abreu had a really nice World Baseball Classic, as did a lot of members of the Red Sox. Now let's get into the later innings, the final innings, and talk about the Venezuelan relievers who absolutely dominated in this World Baseball Classic. Bizardo, Budo, Zerpa, Joe, these guys were absolutely shut down for Team Venezuela in that final.
Yeah, I mean, really, without the bullpen that Venezuela had in their performances, this game could have ended much differently. Eduardo Rodriguez going out there and throwing as many solid innings as he did and leaving it up to that bullpen. I quite honestly thought USA had a chance of coming back against this bullpen, but they just shut the USA down. So first they bring in Bizardo. And I know Bizardo from last year's Tigers run in the playoffs. When he dominated the Tigers, he looked absolutely filthy. And his numbers last year really show that. He had a 2.52 ERA over 78 innings and 82 strikeouts in those 78 innings. Really, really great performance from him. He showed up when Venezuela needed it most. Then they turned the ball over to Budo, who is a lesser known reliever. He spent a lot of time the last 3.5 years with the Mets, got traded to San Francisco. He was a Giant at the end of last year, had a 4.5 ERA with the Giants. Overall in 2025, a 3.90, nothing crazy. He was an innings eater, 67 innings, only struck out 58 in those innings, but he put together a great performance. Then they turned the ball over to Angel Zerpa. And I know Zerpa because he's a member of the Kansas City Royals, and I know the Tigers have seen him more than once. And he put together a pretty solid performance for him. Last year, 4.18 ERA in 64 innings, 58 strikeouts, though. So nothing crazy numbers-wise. I mean, these guys are, I would say, very average bullpen guys on pretty much any team. They're nothing crazy. I mean, Bizardo, yeah, he probably should have been an all-star last year. I could have seen that easily. But as for Budo and Zerpa, they're nothing crazy. You put them in a bullpen, you know they'll go out and give you a decent performance most of the time, but they really shined in this World Baseball Classic. And then they turned the ball over after that, the fourth relief pitcher of the game, to Andres Machado. I had no clue who this guy was. That's because he last pitched in the MLB in 2023. And before that, he pitched in 2022 and 2021 for the Washington Nationals, those 3 years, all with Washington. But then he had a couple-year break. He didn't pitch in 2020. He didn't pitch in 2019. He didn't pitch in 2018. His first year in the league was 2017 with the Kansas City Royals. Now, he didn't pitch very much in 2017. He pitched 3 2/3 innings to the tune of a 22.09 ERA. So in those 3 innings, he got absolutely rocked and then decided to take 3 years off. I don't blame him. But last pitching in 2023, he had a 5.22 ERA over 50 innings. Really not a very great name, honestly. But man, he went out there and, yeah, he allowed the home run to Bryce Harper, but he didn't make the damage that much worse. I mean, yeah, they tied the game, but it's not like he gave up the go-ahead run. And then they brought in Danny Palencia.
No, let's pump the brakes here. Let's pump the brakes here. Got to get back to Billy's game notes here. So
All
I do
right.
want to talk a little bit about Bryce Harper. Okay, so as you mentioned, Joe Machado comes in, 8th inning. Okay, at this point, it looked like all hope was lost for Team USA. You looked at the bench, absolutely deflated. You looked over at the other side of Venezuela, it looked like they were, about to win it all. A sign of things to come, right? But man, the U.S. looked absolutely deflated. First 2 hitters go down in the inning. Then Witt draws a nice 2-out walk, gets a little rally started. Harper goes yard to tie the game. Absolutely electric. Now, sure, you would have liked to have seen a better crowd to witness that home run, but it truly felt, in what had been not a great tournament for Bryce Harper, felt like the turning point in that game. It truly felt hopeless. And another thing that's worth mentioning here, this broadcaster and former pitcher gets a lot of heat as a broadcaster, as a color commentator. John Smoltz had already scrutinized Bryce Harper earlier in the game regarding his bat speed in particular, basically saying, Harper's not too old, but he's been in the league for 15 years. And it's, pretty evident that, maybe that bat speed is not quite there. And then perhaps Harper goes out and has the biggest swing of his baseball career, kind of a middle finger up to Mr. John in the broadcast booth.
Yeah. I mean, Bryce Harper will go down for this as one of his biggest moments in his career. Really, really great to see out of him.
Yeah, it truly was one of the better moments that we have seen in the World Baseball Classic. Now, before we get to Danny Palencia in the bottom of the ninth, I do want to mention the top of the ninth here. Garrett Whitlock comes in for the U.S., walks the leadoff man, Luis Arias, which is just absolutely unfortunate. I mean, that's a guy that just throw the ball at him because, yeah, okay, he's hit a few over the wall so far in the tournament, but at the end of the day, he's mainly a singles kind of guy. Doesn't strike out a whole lot, has literally the lowest strikeout rate since Mr. Padre himself, Tony Gwynn. But another defining moment in this game, Arias gets taken out, which was, this was a tight ball game, right? Tie game. Venezuela pinch runs Javier Sanoa, pretty much a no-namer from the Marlins, playing in his home stadium. He gets a stolen base on a bang-bang play at second, which was challenged, and it was close, right? Close call at second. And then Eugenio Suarez, what a menace, man. Drives in the go-ahead run with a double. Now let's go back over to Joe here, who has some game notes on the bottom of the ninth. Cubs closer Danny Palencia coming in for Venezuela.
Yeah. So they bring in Danny Palencia, who is probably the biggest name in Team Venezuela's bullpen. Last year with the Cubs, 291 ERA across 52 2/3 with 61 strikeouts. Should have been an all-star. I mean, the Cubs had an all-star, so it's not like they were going to be given a pity one, but he put together a really great performance last year. Through the whole season, they knew they could rely on him in big moments, and he came through for him a lot last year. So to see him being brought out there in the bottom of the ninth, I knew it was going to be a really tough ask for Team USA to come back. I mean, he throws absolute gas. It was going to be pretty much the toughest chance that the USA had to come back. I mean, going against a guy whose nickname is La Gasolina, I'm going to say he probably throws pretty fast, and he showed it off. I mean, throwing 100 plus, hitters can barely see that stuff. So for him to go out there and put together a good performance, keep it under control with the nerves, it was good to see for the young buck.
Yeah, especially with those gas prices soaring lately too. I mean, he just had kind of a little bit of extra gas there, kind of just took it to another level there in that bottom of the ninth. So, but yeah, kind of only fitting to strike out maybe the top performer, the most surprising breakout performer that we saw in the WBC, which is young Red Sox star Roman Anthony. Strikes out to end the game. Unfortunate, but Venezuela does go out as the deserving champion by a final score of 3-2. So that does wrap up the final inning section. Let's move over to the game wrap. As I mentioned before, this really felt like a home game for Team Venezuela. The team played the game with a tremendous amount of passion and emotion, I think, which was very evident to all that watched that game. And I just don't think that we see enough of that passion and emotion in Major League Baseball. So really exciting to watch Team Venezuela. Now, I do want to give a lot of credit to Omar Lopez. He's been with the Astros organization for over 25 years, the manager for Venezuela, and man, just the way that he managed his team throughout this tournament was admirable. Really did a nice job managing the bullpen. Some notable names that Joe talked about, but again, some of these guys are not your household names in Major League Baseball, but I think he truly put together solid lineups, managed that bullpen well, and called upon the right guys at the right time, such as Eduardo Rodriguez. And obviously, everyone saw Eugenio Suarez, with that huge defining moment, driving in the game-winning run, but then also leading his team in prayer after the game, giving some glory to the Savior, right? He said after the game, "We're not just teammates, we are family." So pretty powerful to see Eugenio Suarez step up, not only as a leader on the field, but also off the field, and just to play with so much passion.
Yeah, I mean, you had touched upon it earlier. It did feel like a home game for Team Venezuela. The dugout, when they would show flashes between Team Venezuela's dugout and Team USA's dugout, the differences were truly incredible. I mean, Team Venezuela looked light. They looked happy. They looked like they were on top of the world. Even when Team USA hit that 2-run tying shot, yeah, Team USA was excited. You could see some emotion. But Team Venezuela knew they weren't out of it. They didn't look defeated. Did they look a little disappointed? Yeah, but they were still riding high because they knew, hey, we might be tied now, but we're not out of it. We're not losing. We can easily come back, and they did. They proved Team USA really didn't have what it took to be the champions in back-to-back World Baseball Classics. They didn't deserve it.
100% with you there. I don't think it hit me until I saw that emotion from Team Venezuela after the game, receiving their medals, belting out the Venezuelan anthem on that really cool World Baseball Classic stage that they rolled out into the middle of the field. Just the joy, the elation. You could just tell how much that victory really meant to them. And honestly, it also didn't hit me hearing some comments before the outcome of the World Baseball Classic on how a lot of players said this would mean more to me to win the World Baseball Classic than it would to win a World Series. But it didn't hit home for me until Venezuela won that game to see every single player, coach, staff member just in absolute joy, a lot of them in tears, including Tigers legend, future Hall of Famer Miguel Cabrera. And as was mentioned by the broadcasting crew at the end of that game, which I think is definitely worth noting, that country, Venezuela, has been through a lot. The political climate is crazy over there, has been for quite some time. And so I think that this World Baseball Classic title really means a lot to those people. And you could really see that by the reactions of the entire team after the game.
Yeah, I think in a sense, a lot of these teams like Team Venezuela, like these other Hispanic teams, it means more to them because a lot of these guys won't sniff a major league roster. Or if they did, it wasn't for a very long time. I mean, all of the guys, or almost all, if not all, of Team USA's players had pretty decent careers in the MLB. If they're still there, or even if they're retired, they're pretty much growing up striving to be in the MLB. As for a lot of these other countries, they are, but they know it's realistic that I might not make it to the MLB. There's only 30 teams. There might not be a spot for me. But if I can play in the World Baseball Classic and win it for my home country, it's going to mean more. And you really saw it here. You really saw it out of a lot of these guys, and it was great to see from them.
Yeah, absolutely. One more note that I think is worth mentioning here has to be the World Baseball Classic MVP. He is a member of Team Restopia. Michael Garcia, also a member, obviously, of the Kansas City Royals, but ends up getting that MVP award. Pretty deserving, I would say. 10 hits overall, which led the team. 7 RBIs, and 3 stolen bases. Now, Carter, you've obviously seen the production that this guy puts up, kind of had his breakout season last year for Kansas City. An interesting note, he actually did not make the opening day lineup for the Kansas City Royals last year. And so to turn around to have the season he did in 2025 and then come out in the World Baseball Classic and put up this showing, it's got to mean big things for him coming up for the start of the 2026 season.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome to hear. He did so well in the baseball classic there, and that's crazy that he was even on the opening day last year. Yeah, I didn't even know that. And yeah, he was great for my team last year. He's someone that is just super good of just getting on base, like his average and stuff. And so, yeah, that's pretty awesome that he was such a big contributor in the World Baseball Classic there, and hopefully going to be a big contributor for the Royals this upcoming year as well.
Most definitely. Well, that is a wrap on our first ever segment of Billy's Game Notes. I'm sure there will be a few more of these to come. Definitely fun to, put together some notes watching that final World Baseball Classic game, and I think it has really ignited the excitement for this upcoming season. Now, speaking of the upcoming season, as we do have a little bit of time here, why don't we go ahead and briefly chat about the upcoming matchups that we have in the LBFL. With the season beginning this Wednesday, the New York Yankees and San Francisco Giants will face off at 8 p.m. Eastern on Netflix, which is kind of surprising to see. But do want to briefly chat about our upcoming LBFL matchups, as it is a shortened week. We actually got a message from the champion himself, who did not seem to know when the season actually launched. But the league did agree that we would go with a shortened week instead of bypassing all of the stats from Wednesday to Sunday. We do start up this Wednesday. So if you are tuning in, basically that means if your name is Tom, which I already know that the season starts Wednesday, just a reminder to get those lineups set for the week. So why don't we talk a little bit about our week 1 matchups?
Yeah, so I will be facing against Walt. Walt didn't have the best year last year. I think he had kind of a down year, but I know what he's capable of. I know what his team is capable of. Taking a look at the early projections here, he's projected 392. I'm projected 364. So he is projected about 30 points higher than me. There are a couple moves that I still might be making, but not great to see that I am projected to lose week 1.
I think Walt's going to be a tough team. Put up a lot of points last year. So I'm going to be facing off against Cade. I am projected 448.74, which I'm pretty happy about because that is the highest projection. However, Cade has not set his lineup. No surprises there. But I do want to give Cade a big shout out, and I want to cut him some slack. He did just announce that he will be expecting. So congratulations to Cade and his wife, as they have a little one on the way. So I'm not gonna be too hard on him there. But I fully expect to win that week 1 matchup. And yes, as Joe mentioned too, I do want to make some other moves, and I'm a little concerned as to when I'm going to have the opportunity to do so. I am waiting for several players to be moved over to the IL, and so I await being able to pick up a few guys. As you can see, I did get a little antsy the other day. I picked up Kodai Senga from the Mets, and I dropped another Met, David Peterson, because I did not want to let that opportunity pass me after Juan Soto quoted that he is the ace of that staff.
All right. like you said, I'm waiting for those IL spots.
I know. I tried to look up when it's going to happen, but I can't find anything. It might happen on Wednesday. And for some of these other teams, it might not happen until their first matchup on either Thursday or Friday. So they're really cutting it close here. Let's talk about Carter's matchup. Carter, you're going to be facing off against Tom. You're currently projected to beat him in that first matchup. Are you worried at all about this first week matchup against the new team name, the Barrel Aged Boys with a Z?
Yes, yeah. I'm definitely not confident in having those higher points there. Especially since it's such a short week, I really do think it's a coin toss between Tom. I think it can really go either way, especially how Tom has really upgraded his team over the entire season of last year. Yeah, I think it's a coin toss.
Will be fun to track that one. All right, another one. It's going to be his first ever matchup in the LBFL. Gordy, or as he's listed on the app by his more former title, Gordon, the Brant Herder fan club, facing off against Kyle, the Schwarbenbach enthusiast. Gordy is projected to win that matchup currently. Now, this would be the first win for this franchise, I guess you could say, since 2024, as the Justice League failed to win a game during the 2025 LBFL season. Who do we think is going to come out on top amongst Gordy and Kyle in that first matchup?
Yeah. Give me Commissioner Gordon. He's coming out on top here.
Wow,
I like him over
commissioner?
Kyle.
Is he commissioner now?
He is in Batman.
Oh, wow. I guess I'm not.
Good reference. Good reference.
I'm not a movie buff, I guess. I don't, my family doesn't have this massive DVD collection.
No.
So I was thinking that there was a third commissioner. I was getting a little nervous. You actually
Did
were,
you not know John's been replaced?
you were actually getting yourself nervous that maybe John would be joining the second half of this episode.
No. I know he won't.
Why is that?
He's too busy, man.
Oh,
He's
okay.
actually, what time is it? Oh, no, he's in bed.
I
I didn't know it was this late. I didn't know it was 8:30. It's past his bedtime.
Yeah, but that should be a good matchup. I think I'm gonna go with Gordy as well, man. That team profile picture, which is just a close up of Brant Herder, who honestly I don't even know if he's gonna make the Tigers roster, but it's too funny. And honestly, like, respect for naming your team after, the tall lefty, Mr. Herder himself, the southpaw. I mean, I don't think Gordy would dare pick him up, but he wouldn't be the first team in the league to have a team name that really doesn't make any sense, aka the Otani's interpreters, who don't even have Otani on the team.
Yeah.
Just saying. Come on, guys. Let's refresh some of these ideas here. I mean, Otani's interpreters. I'm gonna call you out now, Cade. You've got the default profile picture for your logo. Your team name makes no sense. Otani's interpreter is in jail. You don't have Otani on your team unless you trade with Mr. Hawking. Like, I don't know. Let's do better.
Yeah. Maybe time for a switch up, and who knows? Maybe that'll bring you some luck this season.
All right,
The
final
default
match
photo is really the cherry on top with that one.
for Cade. It's literally a ball cap with an O on it.
Well, yeah, it's the default.
It kind of looks like the Chicago White Sox, but instead of the, I don't know, what do they have on their hat? CHW? I don't even remember.
CWS?
I can't even. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look it up.
That's how they're referred to, if for 3-letter teams, there's CWS, but I don't know if that's on their hat.
It's just Sox. But yeah, for K, it's just an O.
It's the off-brand version.
He's got to make a blockbuster deal for Otani.
I don't think JD's going to give him up. I was actually chatting with JD last weekend about the fact that he drafted Otani in the second round, which just is crazy when you think about it. But
yeah.
All right, let's talk about the matchup of the week, which is highlighted on the app. And I think it's the matchup of the week because we've got the champ himself, John, JD, the Stephen Hawkins, going against other John with no H, the Detroit Mariners. Projection right now is the closest projection that we are seeing. It is a 6-point swing with JD favored by just a few over John. Thoughts there?
I look for that one to be a really good matchup. I think that probably has the potential to end up being the closest matchup that we see in week one. Um, I think it comes down to us to starting pitchers in that one.
Hmm. Those are two super, super strong teams again. And I think kind of like how I saw with mine and Tom's, I think that's going to be a coin toss too. Could go either way.
I know JD's going to be itching to make some moves here too. He's got LBFL favorite Merrill Kelly, who is going to be placed on the IL. I heard that earlier today. Santander is day to day. Pena is day to day. I think he may start the year on the IL, and then he already has Corbin Burns on the 60-day there. The only players that John has day to day are Jackson Holiday and Bryce Miller. So honestly, I can see why Yahoo Fantasy AI selected this as the matchup of the week.
I just hope someday to be in matchup of the week.
Yeah.
You'll get there one day, young fella. I believe it. I can already see it. Matchup of the week: Kerry Bonds against the Commissioner, the Detroit Mariners. Rivalry week.
I'm taking Kerry Bonds every day of the week.
I think anytime you meet John in a matchup, it has to be the matchup of the week.
Yeah.
I don't care what the app says at that point. It's the matchup of the week.
Yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, some good matchups to start the season here. Will be really interesting to see how the shortened week works, but glad that we're not just throwing those points away. Glad that we can take full advantage of the season starting. So yeah, I know the excitement level is high amongst league members. Gordy put out in the group chat this morning, he put happy opening week, and honestly, I don't think it was on everyone's radar. So a nice reminder there from the newest member of the LBFL, at least from a team owner's perspective. Don't want to forget about, of course, the minister without portfolio, Gordy's friend Loops.
Can't forget about him.
No.
Never.
All righty. We are going to move over to our commercial break. We've got a special sponsor for today's episode. It is the non-existent broadcast network, Bally Sports Detroit.
Let's go Tigers! Let's go Tigers! Yeah, we did it! Let's go Tigers! Eat 'em up, Tigers! Eat 'em up! Eat 'em up, Tigers! Eat 'em up!
Well, it's definitely no Fox Sports Detroit. It's no Detroit Sportsnet. It's no FanDuel Sports. But we would like to thank Bally Sports Detroit for being our sponsor for episode 5 of the 2026 LBFL podcast. We'd like to thank you for tuning in tonight. Now, before we go into our next segment here, we did talk a little bit about Commissioner John towards the end of the first segment there. And I had teased out that, what if John happened to kind of join that second half? Now, I did give John a call a little bit earlier today, and he said that he was considering hopping on the podcast. And so when I did step away for a moment, but before we started this second segment, I gave him a call. And unfortunately, he has decided not to join tonight's episode. He's decided to dodge Joe tonight, per the commissioner's words.
Now, quick question. When you called him, did you wake him up or was he awake?
He sounded bedridden. He sounded a bit tired.
Yeah.
But he wanted me to let you know that he was dodging you tonight.
And that's fair. I get it. He wasn't prepared. I understand completely. I'm just sad that he probably missed some sleep from your call. That's what I care about.
Yeah, I hate to throw off his REM cycle, but
Yeah.
all for the love of the game. So
That's fair.
All right. Well, what a perfect segue into talking about the 2026 Major League Baseball season, which we mentioned launches on Wednesday, which is just crazy to think. Seemed like the World Baseball Classic just ended, and here we go. Spring training is over. It is almost April in the D, of course, coming up next month. Excited for that. But yeah, launching on Wednesday, it will be Garrett Cole taking the mound against Logan Webb in that first matchup of the season, with more games to follow on Thursday and Friday. Now, one thing that I have noticed lately is with the rosters being finalized for all of the teams recently, we've seen some unexpected send downs to Triple A, including the sending down of Connor Griffin, who was reassigned to minor league camp by the Pittsburgh Pirates. He's currently the #1 overall prospect in baseball. He went first in the 2026 Stash Draft to bye week Wall. But we do want to highlight the falls from grace, players that did not crack their team's opening day rosters, but have big league experience. So Connor Griffin kind of falls out of that window, right? Hasn't been called up yet by the Pirates. A much anticipated debut, which I think will come probably within the month. Well, let's first go to, I would say, maybe the most surprising, because he was such a big name as a prospect. He has spent parts of 2 major league seasons for the Washington Nationals. Dylan Cruz, outfielder for Washington. He was the second overall pick in the first round of the 2023 MLB amateur draft. And man, I mean, what happened to Dylan Cruz to the point where he can't even crack the roster of perhaps a bottom 3 team in Major League Baseball?
Yeah, I mean, I would understand him not cracking the roster on a lot of these teams that probably have outfields that are already full with a lot of really good major league talent. Um, Kind of shocked that he didn't make the Nationals roster. I mean, he did struggle last year. I think he battled some injuries last year. He only played 85 games. I don't know if maybe he split some time in between the minors and the MLB, or if it was strictly due to injury. But in those 85 games, he only hit 208. He showed some pop with 10 home runs, but on a pretty abysmal team like the Washington Nationals this year, you would have liked to have seen him make that opening day roster. So that one, a little shocking, but send him down to the minors, let him polish off some things, and call him back up maybe in a couple weeks to a month.
Yeah. This was, super shocking to me too, that when I saw this, because like you had mentioned, Leo, like there was like a ton of hype for him last season. I mean, the hype was huge for him. And yeah, for him to start in the minors this season just feels weird with that much hype that was surrounding his name and stuff. And for him to go down like that, yeah, that's rough.
Yeah, it seems like it's Washington's way of kind of sending him a message and potentially allowing him to just see some more at bats. Because honestly, when you look at his numbers, I mean, he's only played a total of 116 games over a couple years in the majors here. So he only has a total of 634 plate appearances, 575 at bats. That's not much. Now, this kind of reminds me of the Spencer Torkelson situation, and it's kind of maybe a jumpstart approach on what happened to Tork back in 2024. As Tigers fans probably remember, Torkelson was sent down to AAA after a poor start to his 2024 season in early June. Kind of a surprising demotion, but kind of one that needed to happen. He was just in a terrible slump. He was 0 for his last 16, and they sent him down. And he came back up, I can't remember when he came back up, probably a month or 2 later, I would say. And, he looked better. He definitely looked better. So was able to work on some things. So is this maybe Washington's way of getting ahead of a potential Torkelson-like problem from 24?
Yeah, I 100% think it could be. Let him tune up down there. Let him maybe fix something mechanically that's not working with his swing. Let him, like you said, see those at bats, because he doesn't have a ton of plate appearances. So let him see some of that pitching. Let him get into his own groove. And then when he's ready, call him up. Get out ahead of it as opposed to letting him slump in the majors and quite possibly tearing down his confidence even more.
All right, why don't we move over to another name? All right, we're going to stick in the National League and we're going to go over to the Dodgers. Hyeseong Kim, a former member of Joe's team, Kerry Bonds, is not going to crack the opening day roster for the LA Dodgers. Instead, it is going to be Dodgers rookie Alex Freeland, whom Joe pulled a jersey card of just several weeks ago, which you can actually watch in one of our YouTube shorts. But yeah, Hyeseong Kim, he's got on a 3-year contract right now, which he signed back in January of 25. That deal was only worth 12.5 million, so it was a pretty low risk deal. But I'm just thinking back to when Hyeseong Kim was signed by the Dodgers. I mean, it was kind of almost like a bidding war, as are a lot of these international players that come over from, Korea and Japan. But all of a sudden, this is a different situation than Washington because you've got the Dodgers coming off of back-to-back World Series titles. It's a deep lineup. It's just a lot of depth overall on that team. But is it surprising to see Hyeseong Kim option to AAA?
Yeah, definitely a little head scratching. I get the Dodgers do have a really loaded roster, um, but to keep a guy up like Alex Freeland versus Hyeseong Kim, I mean, if you look at what they've done in spring training, and I know spring training isn't the end all be all. Hyeseong Kim is batting over 400 in spring training. Alex Freeland's batting like a buck 20. So a little shocking to see. Hyeseong Kim has wheels. He's good with the glove. I think he gives you some flexibility in the infield. I think he can play a couple different positions if need be. So I get it. The Dodgers are a loaded roster, but I'm not 100% sure they made the right choice keeping Freeland as opposed to him.
And interesting note, he is 27 years old, so he's maybe not as young as people would think. Had a successful career playing over in the KBO, but yeah, kind of a shame there for Hyeseong Kim. You'd almost think that at this point he would maybe look to request a trade. Let's move on somewhere else where maybe I can get some playing time because you look actually at his stats in his limited time last year. I think he struggled with some injuries, but he had a 1.7 WAR in 71 games. He hit 280. He stole 13 bags, only got caught once. Showed just a little bit of power with 3 home runs. OPS was just below 700, and the OPS plus was at 95. So a little bit below league average. But yeah, with the speed and defense combination that you mentioned, Joe, this was definitely a surprising one to see. All right, let's move on to another player here. Why don't we stick around in the National League and we will go over to the Bay of San Francisco. Bryce Eldridge. This was a pretty shocking one here. He's a name that came up in the stash. I actually, during the draft, thought that I was going to be able to take him, but I can't remember who. Somebody's already got Eldridge on their stash. Anybody remember which team has him?
I do not remember. I can try to look right now.
Kyle?
Not sure.
But yeah, that was from like the first stash though.
Yeah, you
Right.
snagged him in that first stash.
Yeah, I want to say I got Kyle or
Um,
JD. I don't know which one.
JD.
JD.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's 6'7", 251 pounds. He's only 21 years old. He's got a huge frame and he's got a ton of power. When he hits a home run, it's not just a wall scraper, it's a moonshot. Like, if you've seen clips of Bryce Eldridge, the man can hit. Are we surprised to see him option to AAA? He is a little bit younger, so maybe they're trying to let him develop. But do you wish that he would have cracked the roster? Do you wish he would have been playing on Wednesday night in that opening day matchup against the Yankees?
I think it would have been exciting to see, but I can see why. He is still really young. This will be his age 21 season. Last year was his age 20 season. He only got 10 games to really prove himself last year, but he only hit 107 in those 10 games, over 37 plate appearances. No home runs. We didn't really get to see his home run power in the big leagues. He did have 3 hits and accumulated 4 RBIs. He walked 7 times of the 37 plate appearances, but he did strike out 13 times. So do I think he needs a little more time maybe to adjust to some pitching? And I think AAA might be the spot to do it. Yeah, so I don't hate the move, but I would have liked to have seen him on that opening day game against the Yankees.
Yeah, that would have been pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, yeah, he'll end up in the major league sometime this season. So whenever that is, it's going to be exciting. And yeah, JD's got a stat stash there.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, I think we will see Eldridge at some point. As Joe mentioned, he kind of struggles with the strikeouts, but I think they want him to improve a little bit more over at first base too. And the Giants have perhaps the best defensive coach in Major League Baseball history. They've got Mr. Ron Washington himself, former manager of the Texas Rangers. He's managed a couple other ball clubs as well, but he's really known as a defensive specialist. And I did see a clip of him recently working with Eldridge over at first. So, he still does need to improve that defense a little bit. He's still young. I think we'll see him up sooner than we know it. But when
Well, and
yeah,
the other thing is they already have a defensive legend over there at first base. See, that's the problem. Mr. Rocky Devers over at first base is a defensive legend. So I get why they're maybe a little reluctant to call him up, because he's Devers' defense over there at first base is probably the best in baseball.
Pablo Sandoval 2.0 can play first and third. Kung Fu Panda, just not Jack Black, of course.
I can't forget Kung Fu Panda.
Okay, let's see. We have
Don't copyright.
We have I think just one more in the National League here. Let's see. Yeah, we've got one more National League player, and that is going to be a former member of Ristopia. I'm going to let Carter talk about this player. Jonah Tong does not crack the starting rotation for the New York Mets. Option down to AAA, perhaps to eat some more innings down there, get a little bit more experience. What are your thoughts on Tong not making the Mets roster right off the bat here, Carter?
I mean, I think it makes sense. I haven't followed him too closely with the spring training for this year, but I mean, when I picked him up on my team, I know when he made it to the majors, there was a bit of a struggle there for the couple of games that he had pitched in the majors. So I knew at that time, towards the end of 2025, that there was talks of trying to work more on the mechanics and stuff of his pitches, and trying to do that pitch mix a little better there, trying to add some more pitches, and yeah, just really work on the mechanics, because he got hit up a little more than I think what people were expecting. So it doesn't really shock me too much. I definitely think he's going to be an ace in the future and stuff, but it doesn't shock me they're probably going to work on more mechanics there with Tom.
Yeah, and just to quick interject here. Great nickname and great full name by Jonah Tong. Just looked him up. Full name, Jonah Reed Tin Chi Matthew Tong. And his nickname,
Wow.
the Canadian Cannon.
That's actually sweet. That is an awesome nickname.
Yeah, right? From Markham, Ontario, Canada.
Did not know that he had Canadian heritage, and honestly actually not only heritage, he was born in Canada. So surprising to see that he did not pitch for Team Canada in the World Baseball Classic. But yeah, he struggled in limited time up with the Mets last year. He's got pretty good velocity. And as far as the LBFL goes, interesting to see that Carter drops him before the stash draft, and then he's picked up by Tom in the 3rd round. I think that he still has some potential here, but definitely an interesting case because he was on Carter's active roster, gets dropped, is available because he still has the rookie eligibility per MLB's rules, and then Tom snags him in the stash draft.
Yeah, and I was also thinking about snatching him in this stash draft. So Who knows? Maybe I dodged a bullet. Maybe I didn't. We'll find out.
Same here for being the one dropping him. We're gonna see.
Don't want to have the regrets.
Exactly.
Nope.
All right, let's move on over to the American League. We've got 5 players to highlight in the American League, with a couple of those being a package deal. Why don't we go ahead and start with the Yankees? Oswaldo Cabrera and Jasson Dominguez, both going to be starting in AAA. Any thoughts there, gents?
So with respect to Oswaldo, he didn't put together a bad year last year. He just didn't really get maybe the opportunities that he could have gotten with another team. I don't know if he was injured last year, but he did only have 107 ABs. He hit 243. I think it's kind of just unfortunate that he's on the Yankees. I think with a lot of other teams, probably would have made the opening day roster. But I think it's kind of just a traffic jam, if you will, for that Yankees organization. So I understand him not making it.
Yeah, he doesn't have much power. I don't think he really fits into the whole Bronx Bombers motto necessarily there. He does have kind of that utility role where he can play a little bit of outfield, he can play in the infield, but I don't think it's exactly what the Yankees are looking for exactly in their lineup there. So yeah, not really surprised. Now let's talk about the Martian. He was actually a unanimous pick amongst the LBFL podcast members last year to win Rookie of the Year. And to everyone's disappointment, he was not even close to putting together a Rookie of the Year campaign.
No, probably the worst defense I've seen out of a major leaguer. Just looked lost in the outfield every time a ball was hit to him. In 381 at bats, he hit 257, so not bad. But that power didn't really come through like I think a lot of people thought it would. Only 10 home runs, 47 RBIs. He did show some of that speed though, with 23 stolen bags. So definitely kind of a disappointing year for him. Maybe he's, kind of like one of those guys where send him down to the minors, let him polish some things up, maybe work on that fielding a little more. And I think he'll have a place still on the Yankees lineup.
Now, something that always comes up in these decisions that we've already talked about is how have you done in this year's spring training? Now, for the Martian, things have definitely gone his way. In 50 plate appearances, he's got 3 home runs, 10 runs batted in. He's batting .333. His OPS is over 1,000. And so, just looking online here and seeing some of these headlines, the Yankees continue to fail Jasson Dominguez. Demotion to Yankees, Jasson Dominguez is trading in Lamborghini for Corolla. Is this the correct decision? Because it kind of honestly almost goes back on what they did last year, giving him all those ABs, giving him over 120 games, and then you're saying, actually, hold on a second. Let's rein him in, send him down to AAA. I mean, what kind of message are you sending to Dominguez and also to your fan base?
Right. I think the message you're sending is like, well, we tried. Like, you did your best. Bye. Like, it's not a great message to send to someone, especially who was such a big name in the minors for them and was going to come up and was going to be this next big thing. Definitely probably hurts if you're Dominguez, but I would go out there, do your best in the minors, prove them wrong, and earn that spot back.
Why don't we go to the Yankees' biggest rival, the Boston Red Sox? Kristian Campbell, who was on the Justice League's stash last year for the entire season, despite cracking the roster, getting a very hot start. He stayed on his stash, and then he kind of phased off a bit. I can't remember. Did the Red Sox end up sending him down to AAA towards the end of the season there?
Yeah, I believe they did.
So this one does not come as much of a surprise as some of the others. However, with the hot start that Kristian Campbell got off to in 2025, this really is a true fall from grace.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember him getting off to that hot start and us talking about him and saying, wouldn't shock me at all if this guy ends up winning Rookie of the Year this year. I mean, just an incredible lightning pace. That quickly turned really sour for him. And in 67 games, he ended with a negative 1.0 WAR. He struck out 72 times in 67 games, and he only had 29 walks. He showed some power there for a brief period and then kind of phased that out as well. And it was 6 home runs. Um, really, like you said, a true fall from grace. Started off super hot and then quickly vanished.
Yeah, I remember on this podcast too, we were kind of talking about how we couldn't believe like Justice wasn't putting him on his team, but now looking back, like that was actually a smart move.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I remember all of us saying when he was off to that hot start, we were all like, dude, call him up. What are you doing? This dude's
yeah.
tearing the cover off the ball. And then like a month or two later, it was like, okay, actually probably a good thing. And the whole time, I don't think Justice knew anything about him. I
Or
don't think he
maybe
knew that he
Justice
was.
was just 10 moves ahead of us, you know? I don't
I
know.
don't, I don't think he knew that he was on the stash.
I don't have any comments on the Justice League. He's been talked about too much already on this episode.
And looking at Kristian Campbell's nickname here, according to Baseball Reference, his nickname is Barry Bonds.
All right, now moving on to the next player. That's just that about sums it up there. That's insane. But we'll stick in the same division here, the AL East. Mr. Rogers, Mr. Oriole. Dean Kramer does not make the Orioles opening day roster. This is not an official Oranges Orioles Outlook segment. However, we do need some insight into this demotion.
We can do a little Oranges outlook right here for sure.
Oh,
I
okay.
mean, it's just, yeah, this was a big shocker to me when I heard it. I guess I didn't really fully realize the moves that the Orioles did with their pitching staff until I kind of heard this news, and then it was sort of laid out like the rotation there, like their additions with yeah, Chris Bassett and Shane Baz, that yeah, he basically got knocked his spot. Dean did, and with Zach Eflin being healthy as well. So he was on and off a lot last season. He didn't have a great season last year, but I believe he's looked pretty good this spring. So he secured that last rotation spot there. So yeah, it was shocking for me to hear, but looking at the whole roster, it does kind of make sense that he would be the one to kind of get knocked out of that spot.
Crazy too, because this is gonna be, let's see, his 7th year in the big leagues, and he's gonna be starting in the minors. I mean, you're talking about the guy that led your team in innings pitched and in wins last season, and you're not surprised that he's starting in AAA. So what does that say about Dean Kramer? Like, does he end up coming back up? Does he end up requesting to be traded? Like, would he make another rotation in the big leagues?
I think he ends up coming back up for sure. I mean, he's decent. He's like a SP, 4, but like you said, just with any, he is a workhorse and stuff. So yeah, I definitely think he makes it sometime up again sooner rather than later. But still a very shocking move for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Dean Kramer, he's not a top 25 pitcher, not a top 50 pitcher, not a top 75 pitcher, but he is an innings eater. I mean, you look at his innings pitched for this Baltimore team that, even in their success, has never really had a strong starting rotation. He had 171 innings last year, 129 the year before, then 172 the year before, and 125 the year before. He's pretty much your innings eater. And like you had mentioned, he was their wins leader for last year. If I'm Dean Kramer, this is a bit of a slap in the face. I think he should have made this opening day roster. I guess I understand the Orioles move. He's not, you know, like I said, a top pitcher in the game, but I think he's an innings eater, and I think he's relatively reliable. So I think that one kind of hurts for him a little bit.
Yeah. And I think if you look at a lot of other teams' compositions, like he'd definitely be a starting pitcher on other teams like the Angels or the Nationals or something. Like he'd totally be, in their rotation if he was available to like those other teams too. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. But also, yeah, like I said, goes to show that, they made good moves this offseason, the Orioles did. So
Yeah.
All right, the final selection is maybe the least surprising and probably, I'd say probably the least known name amongst this list that we've put together, but had to mention him because he was on Joe's team last year. Joe, Zebby Mathews.
Yeah,
Does not
he was
make
a
the
late
Twins roster. Yeah.
he was a late pickup to my team last year. A really really young pitcher, actually not as young as I thought, 25 years old. Really didn't put together a great 2025. He started 16 games, ended with a 5.56 ERA. He got hit around a little bit, and the same was true for spring training this year. Really has not looked great this spring. He loses that last starting spot in that rotation to Mick Abel, who I recently just did a little flip flop there, Zebby for Mick. I like Zebby. I think he can throw pretty hard. I think he's got to get his command when he has a bad inning. And he really lets it get to him, I think. He'll go out there and pitch 3 scoreless, and then in that 4th inning, he walks a guy, then he walks another guy, then he allows a hit, then another hit, then another hit. And I think it really just gets out of hand for him. But as you know, I like names and nicknames, although Zebby is a nickname. His real name is quite cool. It is Daniel Zebulon Mathews.
Whoa.
So Zebby is for Zebulon. Really cool name.
That's a very cool name.
Well, I can say for sure, nothing rhymes with Zebby and nothing rhymes with orange.
I would personally, I was pretty shocked that he got sent down. I got to push back a little bit on Leo for saying this one was probably like the least amount of shock or whatever. To me, it was. I was always behind Zebby last year as a guy that has a lot of potential. I even thought about potential trades with Joe. We're trying to grab Zebby. I think he's got a lot of potential. Especially as I think he's more like a strikeout pitcher and stuff, which is certainly good in a fantasy league like this. So yeah, it was a little shocking for me, but yeah, kind of like Joe said, he didn't have the best performance last year in spring training, so it's understandable. But I also think he's got a pretty good future ahead of him.
I think he's got to get that ERA plus up. 77 was the ERA plus last year, and he's got to get that up. So
I think if he learns to, like I said, limit that one really bad inning, I think he has great potential in the majors.
Yeah.
I think he's the next Matt Manning.
That's an insult.
100% is. I'm just pushing back to your guys' pushback here. I think he's the pushback. He's the least known name on our list. Dylan Cruz, Hyeseong Kim, Dean Kramer, Bryce Eldridge, Oswaldo Cabrera, Jasson Dominguez, Kristian Campbell, Jonah Tong, Zebby Mathews.
All I'm saying is he had a .2 WAR last year. Kristian Campbell had a -1.
Okay, that is true. That is the one player that probably had a worse performance than Zebby Mathews last year, which I don't know how Kristian Campbell ended up with that bad of a year, but you're definitely right.
Yeah.
And to be fair, Dylan Cruz ended with a .3 WAR, so only one better than Zebby, but
in our next segment here, we're going to be talking about, is WAR an overrated stat? Don't get us going.
Let's get the soapbox out.
Yeah. Save it for next week. No.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is the wrap on this segment here, talking about the falls from grace, players that did not crack their team's opening day rosters, but have big league experience. With just a few minutes left in the podcast tonight here, were there any last-minute thought-provoking statements or shout-outs? We will go to Joe first.
Yeah, I will give a shout out to Cade and John. Congrats on the welcoming of your kids into this world. So fingers crossed everything goes smooth with that for you both, and for a happy and healthy birth.
100%.
What do you got, Carter?
Um, I feel like I cannot top that heartwarming message there. But I mean, yeah, like Joe said, yeah, congrats to both those gentlemen on the lead there. As far as, yeah, I don't think I have anything thought provoking. I mean, specifically with the league, I know I'm if anyone watching, I am itching to make like a blockbuster deal. So anyone watching, yeah, hit me up. I'm itching to make a big move. You know?
I'm antsy too, man. I'm so
You're
antsy
itching
for
too?
this season to start. Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually going to shout out Christopher Sanchez, who just agreed to a 6-year contract extension for the Philadelphia Phillies, which is going to guarantee him $107 million through 2032, which I think is actually a very team-friendly deal, considering that he was second in NL Cy Young voting last year. And I would like to give a shout out to Tom. We've thrown out some kind of just playful trade ideas, but I am looking to reacquire Christopher Sanchez after dealing him last season. Would love to have him back on my squad. So I think we can maybe strike a deal, and maybe there will be a name, pitcher for the Reds named Chase Burns involved in that. Who knows? So that is a definite shout out for sure. I'd also like to shout out Kevin McGonigal. He's kind of in this holding cell right now. And no, he's not in the dugout doghouse. He didn't get suspended. He's no Jurickson Profar. Kevin McGonigal is just trying to figure out if he's going to make the Tigers or not. As every Tigers fan is left wondering, will he crack the roster of the Tigers, or will he be flying south to Toledo and playing for the Mud Hens? So, he's one of the best hitting prospects in baseball. Got solid contact, low strikeout rate, draws walks. Just an all-around balanced player. I would love to see him be the opening day shortstop for the Detroit Tigers. So I would like to shout him out, as I know he's probably in a very difficult spot. If it's anything like it is for us Tigers fans playing this waiting game, man, do I feel bad for Kevin right now.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, nothing really thought-provoking. Just excited for the season to start. As I mentioned, very antsy for it to start. Looking forward to just seeing the Tigers back in action. Again, I'm going to, echo my World Series prediction. The Tigers will be the 2026 World Series champions. So excited to see that, World Series bound ball club get their season started. And there will be a lot to look forward to for next week. So be sure to tune in as we look at the LBFL Week 1 outcomes next week, as well as chat about the excitement and latest MLB news from the beginning of the MLB season. But that's going to do it for tonight's episode. And in the meantime, we'd like to thank you all for tuning in. Never stop chasing your little big league dreams.